Bubblegum Bubblegum, written by That Forgotten Basilisk, read by Hijinks Audio. Summary. When Mina was in middle school, she came up with a code for anyone to tell her that would immediately make her believe that they were in a time travel-related crisis. Bubblegum means that they've travelled back in time. Bubblegum Bubblegum means that they're stuck in a time loop. On her first day of high school, a boy walks up to her and says her code. On Mina's first day of high school, she's almost tardy for her first class because she gets lost on the massive campus. She walks in just before the bell is supposed to ring, so most of the rest of the class is already there. The teacher's probably going to be arriving any minute, so she's got to scope out her potential friends quick. She thinks she recognizes the redhead boy from middle school, maybe, but she can't be sure because he isn't facing her and she can't really hear his voice. Other than that, she knows no one. She's about to jump into a group of girls that are laughing at something, when she's stopped by a boy with fluffy green hair and freckles. He steps in front of her, grabs her by the shoulders, and looks her dead in the eyes. She's momentarily confused, and a little nervous, until he says, with the most intensity she's ever heard from anyone in real life, "Bubblegum Bubblegum." "You're in a time loop?" she asks, at a volume that's a lot higher than she intended, judging by the way the entire rest of the class goes completely silent. The boy, she doesn't even know his name, but in some alternate version of today, or the future, they're close enough for her to tell him her personal "help, I'm in a time-related crisis" code, nods vigorously, and he lets go of her shoulders while she stands straight up in her best attempt at looking helpful. Everyone around is staring at both of them, but she doesn't care very much, because either this entire timeline is going to be erased when the boy loops next, or else it'll be super obvious what's happening to anyone who's observing. When Mina was in middle school, she created her own personal code for time travel-related crises. She'd figured that if she was going to be a hero, she should be able to help everyone, right? So the plan was to distribute this code among friends and people that she could trust to not abuse it and try to use it to prank her. Then, upon her heroic retirement, release the code to the public, so that everyone would know it, and if they get stuck in time travel-related situations, they could either go to a past self, who already knows the code, or to anybody else who follows her and knows the code. It's mostly foolproof. "How long is it? What do you know so far? How can I help?" She asks rapid-fire questions, while everyone else seems to just be staring in shock. Some heroes they are. Nobody's doing anything except watching. Maybe it's because she's had a while to think about what she would do in this exact situation, but she feels like other people should be doing more too. Time-related quirks are nothing unheard of, and she could bet that there are a few records available right now of people having had those quirks used on them. I know our teacher's going to come in the room about 6 seconds from now, and he's not going to believe either of us if we tell him about the time loop, unless I can predict the next thing he does, and last loop he recited Professor Mike's Digimon rap from memory, totally deadpan, so that's what he's going to do this time. The loop is just today on repeat, but we only really have until lunch to make real changes. I'm Midoriya, by the way. Sorry, I keep forgetting to introduce myself. The boy, Midoriya, rattles off very quickly, like he's trying to get as much information out as possible in the shortest amount of time he can. Mina nods, and she sees a few people absently nodding along with her. That's good. That means that other people are listening, and maybe believing Midoriya? She's sort of expecting the angry-looking blonde boy to start something, accuse them of teaming up and trying to prank the whole class. After all, he's got no way of knowing that they didn't coordinate this whole thing before coming in today. But surprisingly, he doesn't say a word. "Oh, that's Kachan. He's like the hardest person in here to convince because I already know him well enough to predict what he would do, so I can't use it as proof. Hi, Sensei, I'm stuck in a time loop." Midoriya notices her staring at Kachan, which cannot possibly be his real name, and explains that they know each other somehow. Then some guy doing his best impression of a caterpillar crawls through the door, and Mina thinks that this school is really, really weird. What did her alternate timeline self involve her in? Whatever it is, she's in it now, and it's at least mildly entertaining. Watching their apparent teacher and Midoriya perform the Digimon rap from memory in equal deadpan is pretty funny, and it clearly convinces a few more people in the class that Midoriya is actually telling the truth. When the both of them are finished, their teacher gives Midoriya a begrudging nod of respect, and says, "I believe you. Are there any specific details that you know about the loop itself? Were you recently affected by a quirk, for instance?" Midoriya shakes his head. "No, sir, I wasn't affected by any quirks, to my knowledge. It only lasts for today, but I'm pretty sure that the break-in during lunch has to be avoided in order to escape the loop." The break-in? Who breaks in? Why? How? UA is supposed to be more secure than military forts. The teacher looks about as confused as she is, and he starts to say something, only to be interrupted by an intimidating-looking boy with split-coloured hair and a birthmark on his face. "Excuse me, but how do we know that this isn't some kind of elaborate training exercise? Are we supposed to automatically believe this Midoriya, based entirely on 2 other people that we've never met? How do we know that none of you met in advance and planned this whole thing out?" He seems to be asking pretty valid questions, ones that Mina would probably be asking if she hadn't had her time travel code ready, because UA is known to be a pretty weird school, and she honestly wouldn't put something like this past them. On the other hand, however, Mina's never told anyone about her secret time travel code, so for someone to just guess it out of the blue would be the wildest coincidence out of any coincidence. Midoriya, however, seems completely unfazed, and looks the other boy directly in the eyes before saying, in total deadpan, "The Homura family." He does not elaborate, but the split-haired boy nods as though he just said something that makes any actual sense. "I stand corrected. I'll help as much as I can to get you out of this situation." How long has Midoriya been in this time loop? Does he know everything about everyone? "I apologize for interrupting," interrupts a tall girl in the back of the room with the giant black ponytail. "But how do we know that you don't just have a telepathy quirk?" The girl brings up a valid possibility, one that Mina hadn't even thought of, but before she can even start to doubt herself, or Midoriya, 2 different people start yelling in response. A cute girl with a bob and Kachan, which again can't possibly be his actual name, both start talking at once, so that it's completely indecipherable to anyone trying to listen to what either of them is trying to say. Finally, they both seem to realize this, and the cute girl stops talking to allow Kachan to say his piece. "Are you kidding? That nerd doesn't have a telepathy quirk, he doesn't have any quirk. How the hell did you even get in here, Deku?" "So, Midoriya is quirkless? That's so cool. Mina's never met a quirkless person before, and she had kind of thought that they were all old people or something, but it's so interesting to know that there really are quirkless people her own age." "What? Midoriya has a super terrifying strength quirk. What do you mean he's quirkless? He took out the zero pointer with 1 punch. He saved my life." "Never mind about the quirkless thing, then. That's also a cool quirk, though. Super strength that could knock out the zero pointer? That's gotta be some All Might level stuff." The cute girl and Kachan both look like they're about to devolve into a massive fight about it, but before either of them can say anything, their teacher steps back in. "Disregarding Midoriya's quirk, or lack thereof, sit down, Bakugo. I know what it looks like when someone's about to throw a punch, and I'm not having it in this room. I feel that it is safe to say that he does not have a telepathy quirk, considering that it was not mentioned in his file. Midoriya, if you could elaborate on the much more pertinent question regarding the break-in." Kachan, real name Bakugo, apparently, sits down and starts grumbling while the teacher goes back to the way more important questions. "Oh, yeah, so a villain breaks in and uses the press as a cover while he steals the schedule for the first-year heroics classes. I don't know what he looks like or anything, and for a long time I really did think it was just the press, but one time I was in the records room during the break-in, long story, and I saw someone with a bunch of papers jumping through a purple portal made of clouds, pretty sure he was a villain." Midoriya nods to himself, clearly having given all the information he has on the subject. The teacher nods in turn. "So we'll call the principal to put the school in lockdown," he starts, until Midoriya interrupts. "Tried that, didn't work. Neither does getting All Might to fend off the vultures, because they come back by the time lunch comes around, nor does staging an elaborate anti-Ocean's 11 type scheme in hopes of thwarting the theft. Though I guess the elaborate scheme was a pretty long time ago, and I know everyone's quirks better by now." Midoriya trails off, and Mina kind of wonders what other plans were in between the lockdown and the elaborate scheme. Given what she already knows about Midoriya, she thinks that there were probably a lot of different elaborate schemes. The boy with split hair raises his hand somewhat, and doesn't wait for anyone to say anything before asking, "Have we tried killing him?" "Todoroki!" the girl with black hair gasps, sounding scandalized, and Todoroki shrugs. "If we're trying everything, may as well give it a shot." Midoriya sighs and says, "Yeah, we killed him a couple loops ago. Instant reset." Todoroki looks vaguely disappointed at this, and Mina edges away from him slightly. Todoroki is very down for murder. Good to know. She had kind of thought that Bakugo would be the more murder-happy one here, but apparently not. "What if we pretend we're also members of the press, and catch him while he's making the distraction?" Mina asks, and Midoriya seems like he's actually considering it. At the very least, he doesn't immediately dismiss it as something they've done before, which could be a good thing. "We can't do that, dumbass, unless you think they'll believe a bunch of teenagers in UA uniforms are reporters." Bakugo shoots her idea down, and Mina sighs. He's right, of course, because she figures that nobody bought casual clothes, and the only thing that UA would have readily available are UA uniforms, UA gym uniforms, or hero costumes. None of those are good for being incognito. No, wait, Yamamoto knows how to make clothes, right? They wouldn't need to be tailored or anything, or all too different from each other. Just as long as they fit and blend in with the reporters, it could work. Midoriya seems like he's thinking out loud to himself, and Mina feels a little more validated by the fact that her plan could work. If Yamomo, whoever they are, makes the clothes using the sewing machine they brought to school, their quirk? The quirk thing seems more likely, but it's her first day and there's already a time loop situation and a Digimon rap battle, so there's very little she'd put past anyone at this point. The girl with the black ponytail starts nodding and says, I'm not sure if I have enough fat stores for everyone in the class, but if we strategically position ourselves, that shouldn't pose too much of a problem. So she must be Yamomo then. And her quirk probably has something to do with turning her fat stores into clothes. She's probably got more versatility than that, but Mina also doesn't want to assume anything, so that's where her assumptions of Yamomo's quirk stops. Would getting food from the vending machine help? Todoroki asks. Having procured a credit card out of God knows where, Mina hadn't even seen him move. Has he had it in his hand the whole time? Yes, that would allow me to use my quirk with less danger of completely depleting my stores. Yamomo nods, and Todoroki gets up with a loud scraping noise as he shoves his chair out of the way. He's halfway out of the door before he says, On it. Someone else gets up too. The boy with red hair, who she's now more certain that she recognizes from middle school, Curie something, and runs after him, saying something about helping him carry everything back to the classroom. Okay, since Shoto and Ejiro are cleaning out every vending machine they can find, I think we're good. Sensei, you'll be watching us from behind the gates, right? Midoriya must be referring to Todoroki and Kiri, and since he's using their given names, he must have gotten pretty close to both of them during the whole time loop thing. He must have gotten pretty close to her, too, since he knows her time travel code, but it's still pretty surreal to watch. I've known you for 5 minutes, and I already know that you'll be a problem child. Mina thinks that probably means yes. You say that every loop, Sensei. Somehow, they infiltrate the reporters. How they don't suspect anyone coming out of UA and pretending to be one of them is beyond Mina, but she's also not a reporter, so she doesn't know how their minds work. They don't actually get outside until it's almost lunchtime, since Yamomo, Mina found out that her name is actually Yaoyorozu, and the Yamomo thing is just a combination of both her names, but she doesn't mind being called that, was finding out everyone's sizes and tailoring everything, even though Midoriya kept saying that she didn't need to do that. Yamomo seems like she's kind of a perfectionist, but Mina isn't complaining, since she got some super cute clothes out of it, and Yamomo seems happier about being useful than anything else. They're watching out for someone suspicious looking, which isn't easy because all the reporters look kind of suspicious, but eventually, somebody tackles a guy in a hoodie who had, up until 5 seconds ago, been standing in front of a part of the gate that was crumbling into dust. The teacher arrests the guy and tells all the reporters to get off UA property, and that seems like the end of that. Everyone in class relaxes, and even though they were supposed to have their first class in Foundations of Heroics Day, they postpone it to tomorrow and nobody really minds. The next day, Mina walks up to Midoriya and asks if yesterday had been the last loop. He nods and says, I hope I never have to say the word bubblegum again. Why? Did I tell you my code early on or something? Mina asks, and Midoriya shrugs. I think you were about the 4th or 5th person who actually trusted me enough to tell me things, and you were definitely the first one to believe me. I guess I should thank you? Midoriya asks, and Mina smiles. Anytime, Midoriya. Thank you for listening to my podfic of Bubblegum. Please go and leave comments and kudos on the original work. I had such a blast recording this fic, it was so fun. I love doing the voices, and Mina is just such a fun character who's really underused in my opinion, so I love a fic centering her. As always, I have links in my description and my bio for families in Palestine who really need some help, so please donate or share the links if you can. That would be very much appreciated and it would really help. Thank you for listening and have a lovely day.